Over the years, I know you guys have, talked back and forth a little bit about playing. The timing was never right. Why is it right now? Why is it a good time to play Wichita State finally?
At obviously it was a little banter back and forth through the years, and there was times they wanted to play. A couple times we offered to play, and it didn't work out. My main thing when I called them last year was, we were in, the lockdown and hoping there would be, it wasn't going to happen, go the lockdown go like it did through the year last year. But I just said, let's do a charity game, open up the doors, to maybe playing in the future and also hopefully raise some money. And then, once that kind of got going, then we got the administrations involved and just, thought it was good. I said the other night, it's good for college basketball. It's good for our state. Obviously if you lose, it's not a good situation, but you got to play tough games, and that's how you get better as a team and a program. And this is it's a good game for us right now. We'll see where we are. They're tough. They're physical. They know how to play. They win games. It's not always the prettiest, but he gets them to find ways to win. It's kind of amazing. So it'll be interesting. It should be fun. I hope it's a great crowd, and I hope it becomes something that stays for a while, and people, the fans, enjoy it.
So if things go good here, you could see it being a regular home and home kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we got a 4-game contract right now. When we did that, we thought it was, good to allow fans from both programs to see games. That's why we did Intrust, that they have their good season ticket base there. Now this allows some of our people to come to the game. When it's in Wichita, we got the Kansas City game. Then we have the home and home Ramage and the Coke Arena. So, it gives a little bit of option for everything, and for their fans, our fans, and hopefully add some excitement to college basketball in December. There's been some pretty good games on early. In November and December. Some of it you get that through the exempt events, but there's been some really, positive games or exciting games that hopefully bring some attention to college basketball a little earlier than after the holidays.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yep. Got a couple other questions, Tom, there. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. My fault. Cole, you got the next question.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, Tyson Etienne, he's been a big part of Wichita State offensively. What's going to be the game plan of trying to stop him?
Well, the other night, Isaac Legele with Oklahoma State, in a way, almost face guarded him a lot of the game. And they limited his production, his shot attempts. It was probably his low for the year, I would think. I'm not sure we're going to go to that extent, but we have to be aware of them and conscious of them. I hope we have enough bodies that we can keep going, enough defenders. I've said that since the beginning. From Selton to Mark and Mike, you got you hope you have some pretty good matchups on him. And even when we get in switching situations, we still should be okay with it, with that. But, it's easier said than done because he can make plays, and they give him freedom to make those plays. And he's going to make some tough shots. We just got to limit his easy open ones and not let him get in a rhythm.
And then Wichita State's only scored 70 points in 2 of their 7 games, but they're 6-1. So what does that say about them defensively?
Well, if you look at the analytics, they're one of the better defensive teams. They're, in their ratings on the defensive end, especially, I think that they're one of the best in the country, 3-point defense. A lot of other stats, they're up there also. Probably the only one where they have a good rating on offense is offensive rebounds. And, but again, it's what I said at the beginning. They find ways to win. They grind it out. They win close games. Probably shouldn't have won the Vegas game, and it's just, but they keep playing. The other thing, they show, really good perseverance. They come back. Arizona's the one that was beating them pretty soundly, and even that game they got it to overtime. So Oklahoma State, if you watch that, the second half, we stayed after our game the other night and rewatched it as most of the staff, and I kept saying to them, "Are you sure the score's right?" Because Oklahoma State was up 8 or 9, and it looked like they had some control of the game, and then the next thing you know, Okie State just doesn't score down the stretch, and that's what they've been really good at. And I tell our guys all the time, you got to score some points to win games, but if you get stops, it gives yourself a chance, and teams get tight at the end. I think you would anticipate it's going to be a close game. Then who can make the right plays at the end of the game?
Then last one for me. I know you talk about how every game is important, but is there a little bit added significance in this game just based off of what happened in Kansas City, kind of one of those resume building games?
Yeah, it's a helpful game. We've done better. If you look, with your net rating right now, those aren't even out yet, but you can look at some of the other sites. If we beat the teams you're supposed to beat, you beat them soundly, and you have good offense and defensive analytics, it helps you. But you also need to beat teams. And, we had a couple opportunities, high-level teams. Now you got another couple this week. So it's I told them 2 weeks ago when we left Kansas City, we're going to have, I told them this is a little mini tournament again. You got Sunday, Wednesday. And, so we'll see how much growth and progress we've made.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Next question for Grant Flanders.
Hey, Coach, I'm just wondering what we can expect from Marquette, if you've seen any of their games and if you prepared for that game on Wednesday. I don't want you to look too far ahead, but it seems like they've had a good season, and I want you to talk about what we could expect possibly on Wednesday.
Well, Shaka, I've watched a little bit because they played Illinois and then West Virginia in the tournament. You just kind of, I probably haven't watched any whole games, and Coach Southwell has that scout, and I always try to sit in the office with the guys during the day if they're watching something, just to get a feel and get your mind thinking about things. But Shaka has brought good energy to them. It seems like they're excited to play for him. It's a little bit more like his VCU teams, where they're pressing, they're playing hard, they get you in ball screens, they get the ball moving. They've shot the three quite a bit, and so it'll be a good game. There's no doubt. They battled the heck out of a lot of people. They've got some good wins. Obviously, St. Bonaventure was a tough game, and they're a really good team. So I don't know what they probably have somebody this weekend. I haven't looked at it, but they're going to come in with a good record and feeling good about themselves. And I know our fans always say get good games in here, and that's why we have that Big East Challenge to hope to allow some games in December where you get some good home games. I wish the SEC was in December also, the challenge. And I've said that all along because you get after the holidays, you got your league to worry about, and then you still throw in another SEC game. It adds in a tough dynamic for your teams, but people think it's good for our league and good for TV, I think, more than anything. So we've continued to have that. But these good games in December are helpful and growing as a team, preparing, but hopefully good for the fans also.
I know you've talked about it in the past, but I want to ask you again, like who do you think is the Barry Brown at this point in the season on this team, if there is one, or is it kind of just a collection of, good basketball players?
Barry Brown's a rare individual. He's pull-ins, and that's why you walk through Bramlage, their pictures are up on the walls, several times, and he did it over a course of time. He freshman year he was just okay. You guys don't remember that. You remember junior and senior year. So I don't know if we probably the best thing about Barry was his leadership, his resilience, that he wouldn't give in. And, I think that'll be a key for us. And it's one of the reasons we went through the program with the military guys to see if we could build that toughness, that one team, one heartbeat, focused on missions, focused on team, all those things. Because that, I still go back and the Barry story where Cam goes down and we come back and he said, we got to practice tomorrow. And I said, we can't because we got to give you the day off. And he said, well, we're practicing. I'm got everyone in the gym. And he had his own practice. And I mean, that's just, that it turned our season, probably turned the next two seasons because of what he did. And, if we somehow we could get somebody that's holding people accountable. And that's what we've talked a lot about here in the fall. And I don't think we're at that point yet, but it would, we show some guys doing that, but I don't think anyone's been consistent other than Nigel enough to do it all the time.
Is there anyone in practice that, not necessarily that they're doing the wrong thing, but that you harp on more than anyone else to make sure that, hey, you got to be a leader of this team?
Well, one of the, we're trying to get Nigel to be more vocal, and Nigel's just a good young man, so humble, and I don't think it's probably in there. Mike, we've talked about for years. He does it by, by his example, being, every day doing what he's supposed to, but sometimes it takes a verbal person, and the one that Selton's probably shown it as much as anybody. I'm starting to slowly work on Marquise, but he's because he's got that. I think he has the intelligence, he has that desire, but I think he's still trying to figure out what we want out of him, and understanding his role and where he fits in, and you got to. I told him the other day, you got to hold yourself accountable before you can hold the other guys accountable. And that could be a big step, with him and Selton and, those guys if to develop that type of leadership.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Some of you guys should have seen this in the notes, but Ish did play AAU ball with Tyson Etienne. So for interested in that. We'll go to Ben Steele from the Milwaukee paper. Ooh. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Bruce, I got a couple of off the beaten path questions for you.
Sure.
I know you've talked in the past about attending Marquette practices, with Al had those open practices Friday and Saturday nights.
Yep.
Just what did you learn from coaching? I think you were at UWM at the time, right? And you were coaching a little bit. What did you learn as a coach?
Well, I probably went more to those practices when I was younger. When Coach McGuire was still there, and he did that. People will say, why would you practice at 8:00 on Friday and Saturday? Well, he didn't want those guys going out and getting in trouble down at the gym and those places. So, it was probably smart, but to me, it was just the intensity of those practices, and it was a different era. Al would drive into practice on a motorcycle, or come with his entourage, or get in a fight with one of the players. I mean, there were, you never knew what you could expect. Obviously, that I'm not sure you can do those things in this day and age, but I had the good fortune of being around not only Coach McGuire, but Rick Majerus more, even Hank Raymond some. Just you think about names in the history of basketball, all those three are really, really important. And growing up and watching the Bucks also in Milwaukee from expansion, I used to go to 25, 30 games because you could go for a buck. Buck night, 10 nights a year, Buck night, top row. So, it was our life, our family. My brothers are coaches, and Ron's in the Wisconsin High School Hall of Fame. David's in the Illinois High School Hall of Fame. My dad, kind of had his own legacy, on the playgrounds and the rec centers, and all the things he did, and so just a lot of great memories that kind of, I guess, inspired me to go into college coaching. More than anything.
Yeah. Did you? I think you went to those practices with your brothers and Tom Desatel too, right? And you guys
yes. You
guys all became good coaches. But were you find yourself watching the coaches more during those? But I mean, they had some awesome players back then. Lloyd Walton and Butch Lee and all those cats were playing back then.
George Thompson and Meminger and Jim Jones and Bernard Toon, and I mean the names go on and on. But I like I said, it probably inspired me to get into the coaching profession. Obviously, Coach Desatel, gave us all our start. With my dad, started the Whiz Kids organization. I guess AAU before there was AAU at a young age, and and then Tom obviously has his own legacy, Coach Desatel, and then I got the good fortune, Tom Sager and Ray Rozak, and then worked for Coach Nowak at Marquette University High School, and worked all the camps with them and Rick, Coach Majerus. So you were around a lot of good people, and then working all the, metals industry camps, the Bucks camps. I mean, all the different things through the years. It just kind of got me into the coaching profession, all of us, and the love of the game.
Yeah, you got any good Rick Majerus stories that are suitable for a Zoom call like this? I cannot
repeat them on. If you're here Wednesday and you get after the game, I can tell you something. So.
All right. Yeah, I'll count on that. Just one quick thing. I know, not related to Marquette, but Coach Desatel used to take you guys around to the playgrounds around Milwaukee, and that was a big thing back then. Just what are your memories of those kind of experiences?
Unbelievable. I'll be honest. Coach Majerus had Hart Park. Obviously, Coach Desatel had the Enders Park. My brother had Columbus and Lindsay, and then I ended up running the Lindsay Park League at one time. Those were, for us, it was the NBA. It was the finals. We played, my group of buddies, one of the most memorable games we played, I think 3 or 4 of the Marquette guys that won the national championship on a playground game the next summer, so it was
crazy,
and that thing went down to the end, so those are, just fun memories for us. And, I tell our guys, they have, one guy wouldn't dive on the floor last week. I said, I used to dive on the asphalt. I mean, all the time. I mean, because if you didn't win, you had to go home because there were 4 or 6 teams waiting to play after you. So just, really found memories of childhood and growing up and playing on the Milwaukee, on all those playgrounds. Every night was a different night, which one you went to. And then obviously my dad kind of ran some of the Milwaukee Public School rec leagues, and going to Garden Homes and Hampton and some of the different places through all the years. Just great memories, great experiences, helped me grow up as a person.
Who are some of the names of the players that you remember playing against back then?
I don't know that. There's just a lot of guys. My buddy, I guess I'm getting old. If I had my high school guys here, they would have all the names. They'd read them off to you. But we played the better guys, including Marquette, Rosenberg. Grew up not far away, and Jeff Jonas and all those guys that came up through there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, appreciate you, Coach. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Next question for Ryan Black.
Bruce, hey, how are you this morning?
Good.
Hey, I just want to ask, because you kind of been asking a couple of different questions specifically about the Wichita State game Sunday, and I know obviously you get excited for the non-con games like the ones in Kansas City, and obviously the annual Big East and SEC ones. But how much for you personally does add extra excitement, just given the in-state nature of Sunday's game?
Well, and they always say, and we went through. It's interesting, the program. When we had that group, the military guys here, they talked to the guys and said, you don't rise up for big games. You go back to your training, your habits, and if you don't have good habits and discipline and training, when you get to those big games, you're not going to be ready. And it really hit me, and there's no doubt there's extra excitement for, whether we play Kansas or we play, elite teams, coming in, Oklahoma years ago, #1 coming in, or whoever it might be. I know for the players that adds some excitement, but it still goes back, to your training and are we going to have the discipline, the toughness to be able to grind out a game? And that's what we got to relate to our guys that, especially on Sunday, it'll be a big game. I think we all learned something, because I mentioned it. You watch Arkansas. I watched all their games before we played them, and they went through. I don't want to say go through the motions, but they didn't play inspired basketball. And East Central Oklahoma had them by 14 points in the second half, and then when they got to our game, woo! That was they jumped on us, and so now can we be ready to have that? We have to be ready, and then we sustain it through the game. And obviously, we just talked about Wichita coming back and making plays and finding ways to win. So you're gonna have to play that whole 40 minutes against them.